Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday, November 4th, 2025 edition of Douglas Now Live. I'm Robert Preston Jr., live in our studios at the Coffee County Broadcaster Building, the headquarters of the Douglas Now Empire here on West Walker Street. Interestingly enough, this is our studio, and again, this is where our office is located. But I do very little work here. Most of the work that I do from other locations, from home or out of town or what have you. That's the beauty of what we do. We don't necessarily have to be here in the studio or in the office to do the work that we do. But when we do Douglas Now Live, we have to be in here. A couple of stories I want to get to today. It is election day. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the government shutdown. I do this from time to time, but I'm going to give you a few facts about government shutdowns in general. It's a relatively new phenomenon. Of course, we're in the middle of one right now, but I'm also going to offer my opinion a little bit on why I feel like this is everyone's fault, including my fault and your fault. We are all to blame in this government shutdown and in any government shutdown. But I'm not going to lay the blame primarily upon us. I will lay the blame on others. But we will close the show with that. The first thing I want to get to is start off at the top. We're going to go in reverse a little bit and talk about a little bit of sports. As you can see from our photo here, first of all, the CCA Patriots were eliminated from the playoffs last Friday night with a loss to Fullerton Academy out of Pinehurst. Tough game. The Patriots led 20-8 at the half, and then Fullerton scored 20 unanswered points in the second half to slip away with a 28-20 win. Now, the Fullerton gets the pleasure, if you will, of playing the number 2 ranked Vidalia Heritage Academy in Vidalia this weekend. Fullerton has played them already this year and got beaten pretty badly. Had we won the game, we would be traveling to Vidalia to play Vidalia Heritage Academy. And we played them earlier in the year as well, and they also beat us to death. The two best teams in CCA's classification are Sherwood and Vidalia Academy. We have played both of those, and neither one of those games went very well. But still, the CCA Patriots had a phenomenal year this year. First year they were eligible for region competition, and they made the postseason. Finished, I believe, with a 7-4 overall record, and really sets the stage and sets the tone for the program moving forward. And I think what people from Coffee County want to see, what people who follow sports and follow the program want to see, is a commitment from CCA to stay with football for the long term. And I think we are seeing that, and what happened this year proves that. The fact that the Patriots were competitive in the second year of a varsity team, but also the first year when they were eligible for region play. They finished top 10 in the state and made the playoffs. So it was a good year. Didn't end the way we wanted it to. The Patriots got decimated by injuries late in the year. When you're dealing with a small school, when you're at a small school, you don't have a lot of depth. And the Patriots suffered some key injuries late that really put them against the wall. Still, they played well in the first half Friday night and thought they might be able to pull it off, but they just ran out of steam in the third and fourth quarters. Coffee Trojans, that, of course, is our picture here. The Trojans lost 41-17 to the Thomas County Central Yellow Jackets on Friday night. The Trojans finished the year with a 4-6 overall record, 2-3 in region play, I believe, but still good enough for the number 4 seed. The Trojans will travel to Sequoia. I believe that's up in Canton, a week from Friday. Everybody's off this week. There are no playoff games this week. Get this week off, and then hit the road a week from Friday up to Canton to play Sequoia. This is a rematch from last year's quarterfinal game. The Trojans won that game 70-48. Sequoia is the number 1 seed out of Region 6. Now, I don't want to give anybody any bulletin board material or read more into this game than there is. But last year was a really big, Sequoia had a high-powered offense. You score 48 points in the playoffs, particularly in the quarterfinals, you ought to win the game, all right? You shouldn't lose by 22, and that's what happened to Sequoia. That's also the game that Coffee running back Tyrese Wiggett rushed for 605 yards and 8 touchdowns and set the state rushing record, the state single-game rushing record. It's since been broken this year. Ty, coming out of West Lawrence, broke that record early in the year with a 615-yard performance. But when you set the state rushing record in the postseason and you hang 70 points on somebody, I can imagine, just not trying to read too much into this, but I would imagine that Sequoia is going to be ready for the Trojans. So it's going to be a tough game. And Coffee has figured some things out late, moved some personnel around, made a few changes. Some of it's been forced by injuries. All right, you've had some folks that were in early that aren't in now, and some of these changes have worked out pretty well. So the team that's on the field, particularly from an offensive standpoint, right now is a little different than the team that started the season. So we will see in a week and a half or so if the Trojans have figured out a new piece to the puzzle, and again can do some things that we haven't been able to do through the first part of the regular season. But the Trojans clicked at the right time. You might be thinking, well, how was losing 41 to 17 clicking at the right time? The Trojans looked better on offense. They were more efficient. They played a crisper brand of football, and they also scored more second half points Friday night than they have all season long, and they did so against the number 1 team in the region and the number 2 team in the state, a team that everybody, all the high school football pundits, have factored in or figured in to be one of the last 2 teams standing to play for a state title this year. So the Trojans have done some things offensively that we didn't do early in the year, and it worked out pretty well compared to the previous 9 games. So the Trojans are, want to use maybe a little premature to say peaking at the right time, but they certainly did some things this past weekend, even in a loss that we haven't been able to do. So the Trojans are as good a position as they have been in all year long to really stun some folks through the playoffs. And Coffee generally does well in the postseason. So you talk to the coaches, they'll tell you, let's get to the playoffs, and then let's see what happens there. We wipe the records clean. It's the 3rd season and all that stuff. We'll see what happens. But the Trojans are doing some things differently and look better here at the end of the season than they did at the beginning. So if you're going to see some success, now is the time to do so. Soccer. South Georgia State College Hawks played the district tournament in Sumter, South Carolina this past weekend. Unfortunately, they were not successful in the first round. They lost 4-1 to USC Lancaster, the USC Lancaster Lancers. Again, lost 4-1. Riley Fisher, who was pictured here, this is a photo from the GCAA championship game here played in Douglas, that South Georgia State College won. Riley here, number 10, scored the Hawks' only goal. The Hawks finished the season 11-3 overall, 9-1 in conference play, and won the GCAA championship. So, yes, we have had a championship fall, all right, capped again by the Coffee Trojans girls cross-country team, who won a region championship this past week and had several runners qualify for state. And we'll be competing in that in state coming up soon. Atkinson County cross country team also has done very well. We're going to get some news up about that. So, yes, congratulations to the Hawks. Congratulations to the South Georgia State College cross country team. South Georgia State College soccer team, Atkinson County cross country team. Our little bitty voting sticker here. Today is election day. All right. Now, there are 2 statewide races on the ballot, races for Public Service Commission. Those 2 are out there that everybody will vote for. Also, if you live in Coffee County, if you're in the county, which includes the city, I do believe, you will vote for an alcohol referendum. We have not made a big deal about that. I remember talking about it several months ago, but we have not talked about it a lot recently. But you may think, there's nothing really local for me to vote for. And again, where I live in my district, The only thing that I could vote for was that alcohol referendum. But it's on the ballot to allow drinks, the sale of alcoholic drinks, alcoholic beverages, both by the drink and by the bottle. It's two separate referendums. Again, both by the drink and by the bottle on Sundays. This would be countywide. Right now, you can do it in the city, but not in the county. So, of course, what people in the county do is come to the city and buy what they want on Sunday and take it back home. So this will open up the county to alcohol sales. So, again, you may be thinking there's nothing local for me to vote for, but there is. You can let your voice be heard as to whether or not you think that alcohol should be sold in the county on Sundays, again, both by the drink and by the bottle. In our local elections in the city of Douglas, only one election has opposition. Ward 1, Edwin Taylor, the incumbent, is facing opposition from Sheila Bivens. Nobody else has any opposition. Also, the District 1 County Commission seat is up. George McIver, the only candidate there, so he will go in and return to the county commission. In Ambrose, you have Mayor Josh Milholland running unopposed. You also have all 5 city council members running unopposed: Denise Polk, Allie Polk, Brad Vickers, Daniel Polk, and Kevin Smith. City of Nichols, a little bit interesting going on up there. The mayor's seat is up. You have incumbent Tamon Frost facing opposition from Ronnie Birch. And then the top 5 vote getters out of the following pool of city council candidates: Beverly Holton, Glenn Tanner, Philip Grady, Kay Johnson, Joanne Foster, Jerry Anderson, Soteria Childs, Tanisha Mitchell, Michael Anderson, Derek Bonaparte, and Gloria Davis. So the top 5 vote getters out of that pool of candidates will be on the Nichols City Council. But you'll want to watch the mayor's election up there. That one is kind of interesting. They're having some issues up there in Nichols, and a lot of people seem to think that some of those issues swirl around the office of mayor. Another community, not in Coffee County, but close by, that has had issues out of City Hall is, of course, the city of Pearson. And you've got elections down there tonight, and the mayor is up. There are a couple of city council seats up as well. So we hope to have those results tonight after the polls close. So listen, go vote. Go vote. I voted. This is my sticker. I'm not a big sticker wearer, so I don't put my sticker on. It's not a flex that I like to do to have to show everybody, in fact, that we did vote. But Montgomery and I went and voted a few minutes ago, and I did not want to get on here and talk about the election without having voted myself. So yes, this is my sticker. I can put it over here. So yes, go vote. But it doesn't matter if you have a candidate or anyone on your ballot. You can vote with the alcohol referendum, 2 separate questions. All right. So let your opinion be heard on that. Do you think people in the county ought to be able to buy alcohol on Sundays? Again, both by the drink and by the bottle. Government shut down. We're going to use our previously used graphic here that we have displayed several times. I want to say a couple of things. I'm going to give you a few government shutdown facts, and then I'm going to give you my opinion on what I think about this shutdown and what I think about who is to blame. All right, first of all, the government shutdown is a relatively new phenomenon. We went 204 years without having a government shutdown. The first one was in 1980 under Jimmy Carter. It lasted 1 day. Ronald Reagan had 3, 1981, 1984, and 1986. The first one lasted 4 days. The second one lasted 1 day. The third one lasted 1 day. In 1990, George H.W. Bush had one that lasted 3 days. Bill Clinton had 2, one in 1995 that lasted 6 days. Then he had another one that began in late 1995 and stretched into 1996. It lasted 21 days. In 2013, President Obama had one that lasted 16 days. In 2018, Donald Trump had one that lasted 3 days. He also had one in late 2018 that stretched into 2019 that lasted 35 days. That was the longest one until the one we are in now. the current shutdown is, I believe, 35 days or so and counting. All right. So President Trump has had 3, and Reagan had 3. But again, Reagan's were very short, lasted a total of 6 days. Trump's have lasted much, much longer. Now, when we talk about the government shutdown, this is where I'm going to give you a little bit of opinion. So if you don't like this, if you don't like the opinion portion here, I would scroll up and go find something else to look at. So you have some people blaming President Trump for the shutdown. You have others blaming Republicans as a group, and then you have still others blaming Democrats as a group. So when you ask the question to me, who is at fault? My answer is yes. They are all at fault. And ultimately, the reason that they're at fault is, one, because the president has not done his job. And in particular, when you look at President Trump and how he has billed himself, he presents himself in a lot of different ways, but one of the primary ways that he does is a master negotiator. And he will tell you that he can negotiate and he can work out a deal with anyone about anything at any time. Yet he has not tried to negotiate a deal with ending this government shutdown. Also, you would be remiss if you gave both parties, all the members of Congress, a pass on this, because one of the reasons why it's here in the first place is because Congress has not done its job. We have talked about this all year long, whether you go back to the tariff situation, to several other high-profile issues that have popped up this year. Congress has not done its job. And Congress hasn't done its job in a long time. Congress has abdicated its authority to the presidency. And what has happened then is the White House has, in some cases, acted unilaterally, and a lot of these cases have ended up in the courts. So we see an increased influence, or an increase in influence, on behalf of the federal judiciary. And that's not the way it's supposed to be. The judiciary is there when it's needed, but it shouldn't be needed as much as it is now. So ultimately, Congress is at fault. And I blame a lot of the problems that we have on Congress. All right. I am infuriated when I think about how little Congress has done, how inactive Congress has been, because what happens then when Congress doesn't act, then we tend to put more trust, more what have you, in the president. All right. And that's not the way that it should be. All right. Again, we as voters have abdicated some of our authority, some of our voice to the Oval Office. And it's happened both in Democratic circles and in Republican circles. So ultimately, you want to come back here, you could very easily make a case that the voters are to blame because we have allowed Congress to not do its job. And the way that we've done that is by continuing to vote for the same people over and over and over. The congressmen that we have shown that they are not willing to do what they're supposed to do. They are not doing what they have been elected to do. They're arguing and fussing and fighting over issues that ultimately they should not be fussing and fighting over. Now, another reason that the shutdown is continuing and doesn't show any signs of ending anytime soon is because it's not a real government shutdown. All right? As I sit back and I look at what the government shutdown means to me, my daily life has not been severely disrupted by the shutdown. It's out there. I know it's happening. I hear people talking about it. I read stories about it, but I have not suffered an immediate consequence or impact or whatever words you want to use because of the shutdown. But there's a way that I could. There's a way that all of us could. And if you don't want these shutdowns to happen, if you want these shutdowns to end in a hurry when they do happen, the way that you do that is through a complete and total government shutdown. The entire government shuts down. We're talking national parks. We're talking about soldiers. You leave your bases, you go home. We don't have a military guarding us. Air traffic controllers, and this is a bigger issue than I think people realize. What would happen, because air traffic controllers are federal employees, what would happen if air traffic controllers walked off the job? You know, they're working for free right now. They're not getting paid. They're supposed to be reimbursed. They'll get paid back pay once this thing ends. But we're headed into the holiday travel season. What would happen if every single air traffic controller said, we're not working? If all the airports shut down during the holiday season? You might say, well, you can just get in the car and drive. Yes, you can, but imagine the extra traffic on the road if people who would fly, the millions and millions of air travelers, in turn got in their cars and hit the highways and hit the interstates. It would be gridlock from coast to coast. It would be gridlock north to south. That would inconvenience people. Then we would all demand action. We wouldn't sit here and argue over politics. We wouldn't argue over things like that. We wouldn't argue over SNAP benefits. We wouldn't argue over illegal immigration. We wouldn't argue over health care. We wouldn't argue over that stuff. We would look at our leaders and we would say, fix the problem, straighten it out. And of course, it would inconvenience them as well. They would have to straighten it out, because another thing that happens, you know, these guys are insulated from a lot of the problems and a lot of the issues that we have to deal with. So while we're dealing with the consequences and the ramifications of their decisions and of their actions, they are often shielded from those. So they don't see it, they don't feel it, they don't understand it. But if you can figure out a way for them to get hit, then you're going to see, first of all, you're going to see government shutdowns not happen. If they do happen, they're going to end in a hurry, like some of those here with President Reagan at 4 days, 1 day, Jimmy Carter 1 day, the first Trump shut down at 3 days. That's where it happens. But the shutdown is ongoing. And if you want to make a difference, and I say you, if we wanted to end this shutdown, let it be a total shutdown. Let it hurt everyone, not just a few. And look, when you're talking about losing SNAP benefits, 42 million Americans, that's a lot. All right, that's a lot. But not as many as if the air traffic controllers quit working. Not as many if the base is emptied and the military went off duty. If it was a total shutdown, Defense Department, Pentagon, everybody went home, IRS, everybody, the government doesn't collect taxes. That's where you see a shutdown end. So we don't really have a government shutdown. It's not even a partial government shutdown. It's just the two parties fighting over policy and holding the American people hostage. And we, as voters, have allowed that to happen. So I get a little fired up and I get a little mad about it when I think about it. Because yes, it's President Trump's fault. Yes, it's the House of Representatives' fault. Yes, it's the U.S. Senate's fault. Yes, in large part, it's our fault because we do not hold our leaders accountable. We don't do it. And if there's something that needs to change, we need to send a message to our leaders. You are going to do what you're supposed to do. You're going to do your constitutional duty. And they're not. And that's why we have a government shutdown. And somebody may say, well, we don't need a full government shutdown. Well, maybe not. But if you get a full government shutdown, it will not last for 35 days. You're not going to go 35 days without military protection. You're not going to go 35 days with airplanes grounded. Do you know how much that would cost? Do you know what chaos that would cause? They're federal employees. Government shuts down. Why are they working? If they all got wised up and said, we're not working without pay anymore. You're going to pay us right now like you would normally, or we're going home. Government shutdown ends in less than 24 hours. Guarantee it. It's everybody's fault. Before we break off today, as we close, we're going to look at our tower cam. Isn't that beautiful? There's no significance to the tower cam right now. We just do it because we can. We just do it because we can. It's there. and I want people to see it. We want to get these cameras set up in other parts of town so we can look at them and see what's happening. You know, we can check different areas around town, different intersections, things like that. It'd be kind of neat to see. Traffic cam, the Douglas Now traffic cam. Thank you for streaming with us today. We appreciate it. Again, let us know in the comments what you think about the government shutdown. But yes, it's everybody's fault. And I am sorely disappointed in our leadership. I am sorely disappointed in the president. I'm disappointed in Congress. It infuriates me. And it's getting to the point where I'm almost going to vote a non-incumbent ticket because they're not doing their jobs. They're just not. They're not representing us. They're not doing the jobs that they were hired to do. And you can argue over politics. You can argue over policy. You can argue over all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, our leadership has let us down. We have allowed it. Our voice is stronger than we think. It's stronger than we realize, and we need to straighten it out. Thank you for watching. Y'all have a wonderful, wonderful Tuesday. We'll see you next time.